Boom! What's going on, guys? My name's zaqq, and this is episode 2 of Tips and Tricks. Now, for the longest time since I've been making videos, I've always had questions: how do you do it, and how do you do it well? What things do you use to edit with? So in this series of tips and tricks, I'm going to be covering all of the things I do to actually make videos, ranging from the in-game camera shots, which we're going to be talking about in this episode, from the what do I use, fraps of DX Tory, things like that, all the way through editing, basic editing skills like editing with music, all that sort of stuff. So if you haven't made any Eve content before, it's really worth watching all of these episodes from the beginning. They're not really long, so without further ado, let's get started on episode 2. And also, sorry, stick around to the end, because in each episode I'll be putting out a small montage of things which we've talked about in the video. So let's go. Episode 2, Advanced Camera. So I'm sure everyone who plays Eve is really familiar with the controls, the basic camera controls. You've got, obviously, if you hold your right click you can move around, and hold 2 clicks you can zoom in and stuff like that, but it doesn't, like, especially with the gate in the background there, it doesn't really give any sort of depth of size of things, because the ship actually does still look big compared to the gate, even though I'm only like 1,000 kilometers away from it. So one little thing I usually do to get some really good depth, I mean, there's not a name for this camera, I just call it like the depth camera sort of thing. So what you can do, you can just zoom out a bit here actually. If you hold both your mouse clicks and then left control as well, and then move your mouse right or left, you get the sort of like zoom option, but it's a little bit different. So if you let go now, you can sort of pull your camera back, and there you can see we'll really get like a massive view on the gate from like way back. And it's like a massive depth camera sort of thing, and it's really cool, and you can still like zoom in and out and stuff like that normally, but when you do it properly with your right click it'll sort of reset. So it is a little bit weird to get used to. Sometimes I use it quite a lot in my videos just to give it a tiny little bit depth, and it does actually make a little bit difference to the sort of style of videos, especially like the PV ones I do, like the Vindicator and the Hamgu and stuff. You'll probably notice that if you look closely the camera's not really standard. So that's one little thing, the old depth camera, it's pretty good. It's good for doing the tracking shots and things like that, and yeah, it does look actually cool. And the second, and I think this is the main camera one, which people aren't really aware of, because I don't think it's actually a default setting in the game. If you hit escape and go to your display and graphics, and in the middle column here under miscellaneous you'll see one called advanced camera menu. Now if you tick that and head back to the game, and now if you right click on things, so I'll just pick this gate here for example, we've got another 2 options. One's called set as parent, and basically that just sets the target as parent, which is a lot like the eye tool there. So I'll just reset that. And the main important one is the set as interest. So what will happen is your camera will sort of anchor on your ship, but will be focused on the target. So you can see now when we start moving the camera, it's very slowly, it's still focused on that particular gate which we've set as the interest, but it's still sort of semi-anchored on the ship, if you know what I mean. So you can get some really cool passing shots. So let's just say we'll orbit this at 2,500. So you can see now we've got a good 5k orbit with the Phobos here, doing a 2.5k MWD orbit, and it looks really cool. It's, like I say, it's focused on the gate, but what you can do is you can still move the ship around, and it does feel quite cool, so you can get some nice shots like that. But what I tend to do for like some sort of passing shots, which I'd like to focus on like a stationary object, you can just move the Phobos or whatever ship you're in out of the picture, and then you get this cool, get the UI off there, and you get this cool like sort of circular motion. And you've seen there the camera does actually glitch once it reaches a certain point. It sort of resets itself, so you'll have to watch out for that and plan sort of your shots, or just like do a few and get it all ready. So you can see it looking awesome there. And you can also use the depth camera with this one as well. So if I just do the control and buttons, you can see that it does look quite cool with the slow turning gate and everything in the background sort of going really, really fast. It does give a good like impact of going around quite quick. So I'll just reset this really quick. And one thing you will notice, it is obviously quite, when you're zoomed out from your ship, it does get quite hard to sort of find where you're at. So another little tip which is good for this mode, and another one coming up, is if you just hold Alt, I'll just turn the UI on there. If you hold Alt, you see the little picture of your ship, or the little icon box, so that's always you. Obviously you can check where you are and then re-establish your camera. But it is really, really cool, and if you keep it off center, then you get some really good close shots. Like swooping through the gate arms there, that looks really awesome. So you can see like how easy that shot is just to get in. So it's a really useful tool to use like for anyone that does a lot of machinima style, like sort of trailer videos and stuff like I do. So that's always a good option. And this next camera tool is the most recent incarnation of the sort of tools that's been introduced into the game, which is the camera tracking tool. So if we hit select an object and we hit C, it'll sort of track. So I'll just set another orbit up there, and that'll track any object you've got clicked on. There we go. So it's not as good as the advanced camera because as soon as you move your mouse there, it's like sort of off. But it is really good in the mission videos where like camera's moving around constantly. It looks really cool, like the Vindy and the Hamgu videos which I've put out with the motion blur on. It's really strong with that because the camera movement's sort of the same pace all the time and it's not random, and it gives a good consistency. But there is a little trick you can do with this as well. Obviously you can set the tracking box wherever you want, but what I've done on a couple of videos, which again is another subtle little effect, you can, if you hide your UI now while your box is still selected, you can actually move your camera around, and it sort of gives a more fluid motion than the set as interest box. So, and it's also cool if we just stop the ship here a sec. We'll have to switch UI back on for this, and we've got that gate set as interest again. So this slows down. So if we set the tracking camera again, get it ready. If your ship's actually stationary when you're moving it around, you can get some nice little shots there as well. And it's sort of like, because it's like semi off center to where your ship is in the game, it gives a sort of like screen wobble as well. It's really subtle, but if you use it yourself, you'll know what I'm talking about straight away. So that's the basics of the camera tracking tool. Anyway, pretty standard there, nothing really spectacular. So the next one is, which very, very rarely gets used in any video, so this technique is quite a good one to use. It's, well, I don't know what the name for it is for, but we'll just call it the swooping set as interest sort of thing. So we'll just see here, we've got my ship, which is here, we've got the gate, and what we want to do is, let's see what's in line here. So this station, we'll warp to this station and we'll warp back to this gate, but once we land on the gate, the camera will be set as interest as we come out of warp, so it gives like a really long swooping shot and it'll zoom right in, sort of close. So that is the plan. Now this one does take a lot of trial and error, and it's best to, because we don't want to warp to the gate directly, we'll just set a little bookmark here just behind the gate where I would like to land, because the further you are behind the object, the more the camera is going to have to turn. So we'll stop there, we'll add location, gate, oh, gateway, there we go, and then we'll just not warp yet. So what we need to do is set this gate as interest before we do anything, and then warp. And this works different from structures and NPCs or other players as well, so I'll cover that in one sec as long as we get this right. So don't worry about the initial warp, if I can actually get into warp. I'm sort of hitting the gate here. We'll try and leave our camera not too steady anyway. Like I say. Come on ship, go. Jesus. Right, there we go. So you can see it's still set as interest on the gate, and you actually can get the dolphin effect here. It's swooping through the stars there. Right. So to where the gate was, the camera was actually, it should be pointing to the left, so we need to make sure when we go back to warp, our ship's going to be on the left hand side as well, because that hopefully will keep the ship and the station, the gate in full view. So we'll see how this pans out. Obviously you'll have your UI hidden and your mouse icon off if you're doing a proper machinima sort of video. But we'll just see if this works. Actually that was on the right hand side, wasn't it? Yeah. So let's see. There we go. So you can see the effect. I mean, you could have that sort of sped up until the last second and then slow it down, so it gives a really like quick burst of speed and then like a slow-mo injection at the end, and that looks pretty cool. But you can do that with stations and other similar things like that. The only thing it doesn't work on is NPCs and other players, so what we need to do with that, I'll just show you what happens, and it actually does a little glitch as well. So I'll just set this NPC, so it would be the same as before. It would set the interest as an NPC or another player, but it doesn't actually work, but something else cool does happen, and I will show you that in 1 sec. Just wait for this big thing to get into warp. And I discovered this randomly ages ago, but I wasn't able to replicate it because the camera was broken for a little bit. So you can see the camera's actually snapped back to the ship, but you will also notice, even though it is quite subtle, that the center isn't actually centered on the ship. It's sort of glitched out because it's still trying to at the same time focus on that other target we've set as interest, and it works really well with the thorax hull and a few of the frigates, but like things like the Mauler and I think the Armageddon, it doesn't really work very well on. But if you get zoomed in, you can see it's really, as you spin it around, it's like totally off center, and it does feel actually pretty cool. I mean, you can fly around with it, and you get some good angles as you're moving around. And I've used this in actually a Thorax video where it was like a PvP fleet, and the whole time I was quite lucky actually. I did survive the whole fight, and the whole time the camera was set on this mode, which is it just looks a little bit different, and obviously when you're playing the game it feels a little bit different and fresh as well, so it's also a little bit of fun, not just for messing about with making videos. And next up we've got the ability to do the crazy flybys and stuff, which I'm sure everyone's seen in all of my previous videos. I do them all the time. Like that Stratios video I've just recently uploaded was like fully advanced camera mode like the whole time. So to get some awesome flybys, what you want to do, you need to set something else as the parent and then set yourself as the interest. So just like before, we'll set the gate, for example, to the parent, and then we'll zoom out to find ourselves, hold Alt, set as interest our ship. So now it takes a lot of moving the camera around until you get the perfect angle. So there we go, there's one. And the camera does like reset itself, so you've got to really get in a good place to sort of set it up. This looks like a good one coming. There we go. Oh, that's a really nice one. So if you get the angle right, the camera doesn't glitch at all, and it looks really cool as you're moving it around. Obviously you would have your mouse button hidden as well. There we go. So it is quite, as long as you get the single shot without any mouse movement, it does look pretty cool as you're going around. And if there's no gates or anything like that kicking around where you are, sometimes what I do is use a can as well, so we can just approach this. In fact, we'll orbit, give it a tight orbit. Set as parent quickly, and where's my ship? Where's my ship? Oh, there he is. Set as interest, there we go. So if we keep the can quite close up, once the ship starts moving past, it'll sort of keep the can out of this screen. We'll have our UI hidden as well, because it's going to look pretty good. And it'll be a long shot, this one, and then it'll swoop back to maintain the orbit. And again, you can use the depth of fields with this as well. Or the depth camera, sorry. And you can get all sorts of nice shots coming out of that. It does look really, really cool. So using all of these tools in your videos will actually give it the edge over the bog standard e-video. So what I mean by that is, obviously when you're PvPing or something like that, like what I'm doing here, you're focusing on the target, but you're using your camera to do that, and it looks really choppy. So I'm like, stop there, and I'm pushing it again. And if you speed it up, it looks sort of, I mean, it doesn't look bad, but it doesn't look really good either when there is other tools there. And obviously in PvP, you're not really thinking about like camera angles and things like that, but it's always good to have the best available options, like obviously available to you. So for example, if this was another ship, you could even just set as interest, and then you get a much smoother like view. It's not sort of snapping as much, and that looks a lot better in my opinion. And also when you've got like newts or NOS on, you can sort of mess around like that, and it does look a little bit better as well, because you've got that focal point then of the targets and stuff which you're shooting. So like I say, just like have a mess around. Like the advanced camera, especially for the flybys, it takes some trial and error, and obviously you're going to be doing lots of cuts to get that perfect shot. But all in all, I hope this video has actually helped you. If it has, please leave some feedback in the comments and stuff, and any other tips and tricks you'd like to share with people as well, which I could maybe make a video on and give you some credit for. That would be awesome. And yeah, so if you haven't made any Eve videos, please check out the description. There's going to be links to all of the things in the series, like going from Fraps to Xtori to Encoding, like I said at the start. So thanks a lot, guys, and I'll catch you in episode 3.